Hey guys, it's Mountain Walk, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about top 10 6 drops. Yep, this is probably the last one. Probably, like I said, maybe I'll go up to 7 or 8, but it's not, I might, we'll see. So, we'll see how that ends up working out. But for the moment, probably just stay at 6, but hey, maybe we'll see. But today is 6 drops, big 6 mana dudes, and there's a lot of new cards on here because, well, power creep is a thing, and old creatures sucked, especially big ones. They were not very good, and they were not very good at all. You know, Crawworm just hasn't held up as much as we'd like, but that's okay because we got some new ones, we got some good ones. Should be sweet. So let's go ahead and get started and look at the honorable mentions. All right, got quite a few different dudes on here. First, we'll start off with Grave Titan. Seen play again, Commander, and of course, and Standard, and even sometimes in Legacy. Typically, Legacy, the Black-Red Reanimator will play Grave Titan because it's castable by itself with like Dark Rituals or just with like Lake of the Dead activations, things like that. And even if it's dealt with, it still comes into play and still get the 2/2 zombies. So 4 power is still left on the table even after it's dealt with. And of course, if you get a swing in, it's even better because boy, that's even more zombies. So this thing is pretty great, and it's definitely used as another way to circumvent graveyard hate. Just be like turn 2 ritual grave titan, right? Pretty sweet. But yeah, I like that. It's a good way to dodge grave hates. Great card in its own right. Creates tons and tons of dudes, which is nice, either as blockers or as threats. Now we got a little bit of a newer card on this list, Carnage Tyrant. Yeah, everyone likes this dude. It's a sweet dinosaur. I love him in my Gish-ass EDH deck, but he's primarily on here. Well, just because, obviously, look at those stats and abilities. This is one hell of a Scragnoth. Holy shit. Man, that card's a lot more pumped up these days. Maybe Scragnoth is taking HGH or something, or BGH. God damn. Yeah, this thing pretty sweet against blue decks. Can't be countered. Can't even be jump blocked. Can't be dealt with outside of sweepers for the most part, or if you get lucky to nab it with an edict. Thing's pretty sweet, pretty good in standard. I can see it even seeing a lot more play later on, just because of, if you need a threat to beat control decks, like it's either Wrath this or die, that's not a bad place to be. All right, so yeah, that's a good dude. Then we got Yosei, and this was played in some of like the greater good decks, and it was looped with create loops with like the arcane spells and crap, and you basically keep them all tapped down. Yeah, this is a pretty sweet card. The Kamigawa dragons were pretty sweet. First time they really were like really pushed big creatures, I think, really hard. And these things saw a ton of play, still see quite a bit of play in Commander. This is a little worse in Commander. You can tap down 5 different things, but you can't time walk everyone at the table for the most part. That's a little bit harder to do, since there's typically more than 5 permanents in play. So this card's, again, pretty sweet, just not quite good enough these days, but it's awesome. Dragon Spirit, come on, that's so cool. God, look at that art. Okay, again, another standard superstar, Torrential Gearhulk. The rate on this guy is pretty nutty. 6 mana, 5/6 flash, and then you can flash back something for free. That's awesome. This thing already is must be horrible to attack into a control player with 6 mana open. That's just oh. Yeah, this thing's pretty awesome. Just getting value, in Commander. Obviously, I like to flashback Fact or Fiction or Intuitions. Oh my gosh, and then you can blink it and do all sorts of tricks with this guy, and he's really sweet. So yeah, this guy is pretty awesome in standard, and I like him in commander too. It's pretty cool. Then we have a Tassiger. Lastly, we have Tassiger, and this guy, this poor bastard, he got cucked by Gurmag Angler, which is unfortunate. Because this is kind of a cool card, but even a lot of the decks that play Tassiger couldn't really make use of his ability, because a lot of times stuff like Grixis Delver and Legacy or whatnot, they are pretty mana light sometimes. So yeah, it's basically just a worse Gurmag Angler. So rip Tassiger. Yeah, getting upstaged by a common has gotta hurt. That's gotta hurt. But he's not bad. Um, and you know, he's just worse than Gurmag Angler. Oof, not a good place to be. So let's go ahead and get started with number 10 on our list. All right, this guy, Consecrated Sphinx. This guy is pretty sweet. Again, he's mostly here just because he's pretty sweet in EDH, draws you tons of cards, is really fun with things like Wheel of Fortune style effects, I'll have to draw sevens, things like that. Really sweet card in Nekusar, the zombie Lich King guy that looks straight out of, like, not the Lich King, but like he's a Lich that's the king, that looks like he's straight from, like, the zombie guy from Diablo 3, like the first skeleton guy. Leoric, yeah. That's also the dude from HOTS, same character. Yeah, so it looks like Leoric, so it's that guy, Nekusar. So Consecrated Sphinx is good with Nekusar. That's really sweet. I like the wheel thing, and I like the Underworld Dreams kind of thing, so Nekusar is cool, and Consecrated Sphinx fits perfectly into that kind of deck, and it's really fun. It's just good for just drawing a bunch of cards regardless, and you can play your freaking Reliquary Tower, and boy, you're going to have so many cards. Oh, it's going to be so exciting. So this card's really fun, really powerful in Commander. I like it. I like it a lot there. This one's mostly just because it's so powerful in Commander. Really sweet. I like it a lot. And I think that's probably enough. That's probably enough for number 10, right? We like Commander. So let's go ahead and look at number six. No, this is 6 drops. Look at number 9. Alright, now we got Kaia. So unlike Consecrate Sphinx, this card was, I think Consecrate Sphinx was good in Standard. This card's even better. At the time, it was one of the better control finishers. Even if they killed it, obviously you get to steal their dude. This card is pretty sweet. It has awesome art, and I like to play it in Commander too, because I like the sort of sack and recur stuff, and Kaia is really great with that, because you can just keep stealing stuff over and over again. And so that's pretty fun. I like stealing stuff permanently. That's good stuff. No, and they don't get it back, I guess, unless they homeward path or something. But yeah, this card is pretty sweet. I had a lot of fun with it in Commander, and I remember playing with it a lot in Standard at the time. It's pretty strong. A lot of the stuff I've already said previously about the dragons really applies here. Definitely pretty sweet. And Commander, because it's a good rattlesnake card, people definitely don't want to attack you. If you have a Consecrated Sphinx, it's sort of the opposite. They do want to attack you. But yeah, this is a sweet card. Does all sorts of good things. Good rate, good to sack and recur. I love it. If only we had Recurring Nightmare in Commander, right? Anyways, speaking of banned cards, number 8 is Kokusho. So yeah, talk about something we want to Recurring Nightmare back and forth. This guy was banned for a while. Recently unbanned, although I think it's been a couple years since it was unbanned in EDH. This guy is sweet. Again, saw play in Standard at the time. Pretty sweet there. Even saw some play, I think, in some of the rock decks, if I recall correctly, like an extended after it rotated. Occasionally, I think it saw play there. But quite a bit in Standard. And obviously really great in Commander. One of my favorite things to sack and recur, just because it's just better. Scales up better in multiplayer games, because you just gain more life and deal more damage. So that's sweet. I love it. I mean, this card is so cool, so fun. I love the art. Man, even the new art is pretty cool looking too. Feels a little bit more Japanesey, but this feels pretty Japanesey too. Japanesey, is that a word? I just made a word. I made a new word. That's amazing. Wow, we're just doing everything on this top 10 list. Um, yeah. So Kakusho is sweet. I love it. I love big sweet black dragons. I mean, you can't go wrong with this guy. He's sweet. He's like Skithyrix. Skithyrix is cool too. Uh, yeah. So let's go ahead and get a look at number 7. All right. Again, commander hits keep on coming. Again, this one primarily for its play in EDH. I think is probably the most played white creature and one of the most played cards in general in EDH, according to EDH REC. Depending on when you check it, of course. I mean, it changes all the time, but over the last couple of years, definitely one of the most played cards. And this thing is great. It does all sorts of shenanigans with blinking and bouncing and sacking and reanimating and flickering and all that good stuff. It is a decent attacker, of course, because it has vigilance, so it can attack and block. Um, and it's you can recur stuff like land, so this is great with fetch lands. This is great with stuff like wasteland or more oppressively strip mine. So that's really cool. It does all sorts of really sweet stuff. Recurs your little dorks. Can recur things like Kitchen Sphinx that had a counter on it, from its super deadness from persist. It can recur like all sorts of other utility things. How about Trinket Mage, and then you can get back even more, go tutor for more stuff. I mean, the sky's the friggin' limit. Get back Eternal Witness, then get back whatever you want. I love it. Get back your Mystic Remora. I mean, really, just anything. Get back your ramp artifacts. It does everything. I love it. This is cool. And yeah, this definitely, because it has so much utility, so much value, can basically get anything you need and or want. How about getting Pernicious Deed back? Just wipe the board over and over again. And the thing costs 6, so you can deed up to 5 and still keep this guy around. So good. So freaking good. I love Sun Titan, and this guy has definitely proved his worth. All my white decks. So he's sweet. I love it. But let's go ahead and get down to number 6. Alright, so this guy may look a little wonky, but Triskelion is a card I've used both fairly and unfairly in a different number of decks throughout the years. A lot of times I'll discard him to Thirst for Knowledge, and then I'll start welding him in and out of play with like a Trisk in the graveyard and a Trisk in play, or just all sorts of other things. This guy has pure money with Welder, gives artifact decks, direct damage either to a person or a player or a planeswalker or a creature or whatever. Helps you deal with that. And then you can weld it out and then weld it back in. Oh my gosh, so much value there. When it was first reprinted in Mirrodin, it was in the Tooth and Nail decks. So again, you can play it with Kiki Jiki and just make tons and tons of Triskelions, which is kind of cool. Or it was a combo. Well, the better combo with Triskelion, of course, would be Methodros Vampire to Wrath their board. But the combos don't stop there. In Commander, of course, this guy gets used with Necrotic Ooze and Phyrexian Devour, and just make a huge Necrotic Ooze and then ping everything. Or you can what was I gonna say? Shoot, yeah, I already said the Necrotic Ooze one. So yeah, he's just been in a ton of different decks, all over the place, and that's pretty cool. And I like him a lot. And he's been sometimes cast fairly, like in off workshops and stuff. Although I guess casting things off workshops isn't exactly fair, but this is a good card. Seeing a surprising amount of play in different places. Sometimes as a combo card, like with Mikaeus the Unhallowed with Triskelion, infinity damages, or just played fairly. So that's always pretty cool. So yeah, he definitely does a lot. Alright, number 5, and like I just mentioned, Phyrexian Devourer. This is another card that's a pretty sweet combo. Again, like I mentioned, it combos with Triskelion in the graveyard and Necrotic Ooze in play. That's pretty cool. But there's also even a pre-modern deck, just a newer pre-modern deck that plays Phyrexian Devourer with like you can either tinker it out or you can ramp it out with like mana rocks and ancient tomb and stuff like that, and you get a big old Phyrexian devourer, and because it's a like a triggered ability is for if it's power 7 or greater or whatever, so you just keep removing stuff after that triggers, and then get a really big Phyrexian Devourer, and you can fling it at someone, or you can sacrifice it to alter Dementia and mill them out. So it's pretty cool. Even saw play in some of the old survival decks before it was banned in 2010-ish, and that was that one had the Necrotic Ooze combo with that guy. It was pretty cool. So yeah, this guy does a lot of good stuff. Of course, you can even combo him also with like a Walking Ballista. That's another combo with him and Ballista in the graveyard with Necrotic Ooze. Good stuff. But yeah, you typically don't really cast this guy too much, although, like I said, the pre-modern Phyrexian Devourer combo deck does oftentimes hard cast him if they can't tinker him out. But that's pretty good. That's pretty good. But what about an even better combo? I'm sure there's some 6-drop that's even better combo potential than this, right? Yeah, that's right. I almost completely forgot about this guy because most of the World Gorger Dragon decks were literally incapable of casting this guy in general. So God, I mean, this guy's probably never been hard cast ever. Uh, I mean, basically, right? There's even like Scion of the Ur Dragon in Commander. You can have this guy be a combo piece there. But it's basically known for the vintage World Gorger Dragon decks, fueled of course by Bazaar of Baghdad. Pretty awesome. And even in Type 1-5, which was basically Legacy before Legacy became Legacy in what, late 2004-ish or so, there were World Gorger Dragons in there because there you could play Bazaar as well, and played Spoils of the Vault. So it's like a black-green dragon deck, and so you use Spoils for your Bazaar. Yeah, it literally played Spoils of the Vault, if you can believe it. So yeah, that was pretty interesting, and those decks were really strong. It's one of the better decks in Type 1-5 at the time, and has always been kind of a or was for a long time a mainstay in Vintage. Dragon decks were pretty strong, pretty sweet. They could use like Squee with like Bazaar or whatever, use that as a draw engine. And then obviously just with the Bazaar in play, you'll keep milling until you hit say like a Laquatus or a Sliver Queen, which was originally like the two win conditions, I believe. Yeah, Laquatus or Sliver Queen. I think a lot of times they switched over to Una more recently, but there might even be a better. There was other combo kills. I think there was one with like Eternal Witness, where you'd like regrowth Eternal Witness like infinity times, and you would like ancestral your opponent to death, which is kind of fun. But there's a lot of different combos with World Gorger, a lot of different versions of the deck. Even just very recently, I saw like some sort of like blue-black style deck in Legacy that actually played World Gorger Dragon. Basically, is kind of like a combo control kind of deck, which is pretty interesting. I don't know if it was really good or anything, but it looked pretty solid. And you definitely, no one's going to be expecting friggin' World Gorger Dragon. Holy moly. Yeah, this is a pretty strong card, and I almost forgot about it, but at the 11th hour I realized, oh yeah, that's right. World Gorger Dragon was a 6-mana card, and like I said, a lot of these 6-mana cards are either cheated out or they are ramped into play. I mean, almost no one's playing retail for these guys, which is just sort of the nature of the beast. But that's okay. That's okay. It was a pretty strong card for a long time. Doesn't see a lot of legacy play now, and it doesn't really see much play in Vintage, as far as I know, because the format's definitely been kind of warped around like the sort of workshop stuff for a long time, last few years at least. So yeah, we got War Gorge Dragon at number 6. But yeah, look at that tongue. Like Wayne England, for whatever reason, just does the thing with the tongue, it, like Stone Tongue Basilisk. It looks literally exactly the same. It's like he just like photoshopped it like over it. I don't know. Like, what the hell is that guy even doing? Like Wayne England did Goblin Trenches, one of like my favorite arts ever. I love Goblin Trenches. but then like he did this, which is just like, I don't know, the card is like kind of retarded because it's like no one expected it to have these strange interactions. So like the fact that the dragon itself looks retarded is kind of fitting and very flavorful, which is great. So, anyways, let's go on to number 3. That's right. How about we get to a red creature that actually is hardcast sometimes? Okay, so it's ramped in half the time. But this guy's seen play basically a lot in standard, a lot in modern, a lot in, well, some in legacy, and even in vintage. There are oath decks that actually oath this guy up in vintage. Because, well, the Arc Lightning's great. You can use it to nuke all those stupid tokens, so they don't kill you with those. Or you can just Arc Lightning the rest of their board, or you can just hit them in the face. This thing even pumps, it even fire breathes. So it does everything. I mean, I don't think anyone's really surprised to see the Titans on this list. It's a little high up just because I was a little surprised of how many different formats it's seen play in. Because I remember there's like a sneak attack style mono red deck, plays like Seething Song and stuff like that, in addition to obvious regular things like Ancient Tomb and Lotus Petal and whatnot. This is a good guy to just hardcast normally. It's a great guy to cheat into play because that's double Arc Lightning, and then late game it's a really great sink for all your red mana because, well, it has fire breathing. So this is sweet. This card is awesome. It does a lot of damage. I was a little surprised about how widespread it was. I believe there's like Ponza decks that'll play this guy in modern or just red-green land destruction things. So that's pretty cool. You can't go wrong. I mean, look, everyone likes Arc Lightning. Arc Lightning is one of my favorite cards. It's so sweet. I love just not having to waste any damage. That always feels really good. It's just like, oh yeah, just perfect amount of damages all over the place. This card is sweet. It'll kill really, really fast, which I love. Yeah, I mean, you really can't get much better than this guy. So yeah, he's been hardcasted or ritualed out, I guess, with Seething Song and Friends, or sneaked out with Sneak Attack or Through the Breach or all that kind of stuff. Or you can just hardcast him, That's okay too. Of course, it's off Ancient Tombs and stuff, but whatever. That counts, right? That's hardcasting. Yeah, good enough for me. All right, let's go ahead and get to number 2. Bam! Look at this guy. Freaking Worm Coil engine. So this thing is like sweet. This thing is so sweet. It's basically the 6th Titan. It's a lot better than, Frost Titan, so maybe it's like the 5th Titan, right? I just like to forget that Frost Titan even exists because it sucks. So underwhelming. God, what Frost Titan. Yikes. But hey, I think it's only fitting that sometimes blue gets the worst card in the cycle. But Wormcoil Engine, definitely awesome. This card is sweet. It has Death Touch and Lifelink. The Death Touch kind of trinket text in most situations, but the Lifelink is really nice. So what ends up happening is that a lot of times the decks that want to hardcast this thing fairly takes a fair bit of time. Now, like after tapping your Ancient Tomb a couple times, you drop your Wormcoil, and it's a lot easier to deal with those nasty freaking aggro decks, or just if you just lost too much life in general from being blinked by random crap. So that's actually really, really nice. And also, if it's dealt with, again, it's really good against traditional sort of artifact hate, because it being destroyed puts the 2 tokens into play, the Death Touch token and the Lifelink token, which is pretty sweet. And of course, this card plays really well with Goblin Welder too, so it's really fun in Commander. It's just a good card in Commander too, just whereas the Death Touch is a little more relevant because there are a lot of big things, and so Death Touch is nice there. Of course, the Lifelink gives you a little bit of a buffer, pretty nice there. Got the artifact synergies, like I said, with Welder and being pitched to Thirst for Knowledge, and just you can tinker it out and million different things you can do with artifacts. God, it'd take too long to go through all of them. So there's that too. And it's just a good creature for the big mana ramp decks. Even now, you can like put one in your board. You can Karn for it, which is pretty sweet. Because if you go Karn into Mycosynth Lattice, that's probably your plan 1 if you can do it. But if they got a couple creatures out, the Karn's not going to stay in play. So if you go like Karn, wish for Wormcoil Engine, drop Wormcoil, I mean, how often do you think people are going to be winning the game if they're just needlessly throwing their dudes into Worm Coil's face to try to kill your Karn? They're going to have a pretty bad time. That's a pretty bad attrition game to play, and that's not a race they'll ever win. So Worm Coil is really sweet there too. This guy is just awesome. He does so much. He gives basically like if you go like chow someone, then you can drop a Worm Coil, and Worm Coil of course will be protected from swords via the chalice, which is sweet. I mean, oh boy, that's good stuff. He just does everything. He's so big, he's so huge. The lifelink is really nice against some of these, like the Cloud Post decks, kind of like that too. Helps him, not get zerged down or whatever. So that's really cool. I love Worm Coil Engine. Really strong card, really powerful card. Look at that sweet art. It's a worm. It's big scary Phyrexian worm probably. I don't know, but it's spooky. It's really spooky. So there's one card better than this guy. You're probably thinking, what exactly card could that be? No, you already know what it is. Yeah, it's Primeval Titan. I don't think anyone was really like shocked. Yeah, most of the Titans are on this list, everything but the Frost Titan. This guy again, good. It's good in Type 2 and the like the Valakut decks or the Wolf Run decks. I mean, obviously good in Modern and the Amulet Titan style decks. Even in Legacy, there's the Cloud Post decks. Really like this guy. I mean, just how much like life you'll get from like double Glimmer Post and then into double Cloud Post, or no, like into double Cloud Post and then attack and then get double Glimmer Post, or so it gives you a ton of life. Awesome. Helps you spam Locust lands, which is awesome. Helps you get late game like inevitability stuff like Krakus and Ayavugan, and so you're able to tutor up, like if you have 20 mana, you can tutor up an Emrakul and then play it for the cost reduction of Ayavugan, which is really sweet. And then you can take an extra turn, then you can Krakus and bounce back, and yeah, that kind of thing. So usually one swing from an Emrakul is typically enough to seal the game, but that kind of inevitability is really powerful. Being able to fetch your singleton Ayavugan or two of Ayavugan is really, really great. So it's seen a ton of play everywhere, and of course I don't really need to vouch for this card's pedigree in Commander, because it was really good there too. Now, obviously it's banned now. Just being able to double tutor for things like Cabal Coffers into Urborg, so next turn you untap, get a quadrillion mana, all sorts of things. You can get things like, say, like Dust Bowl and Strip Mine to deal with other problematic lands. I mean, gosh, it does everything. It does everything. So it's a double tutor that ramps you because it gets the lands, right? So it's, I mean, oof. Yeah, like watching people play Amulet Titan, that thing's pretty sweet. That's a cool deck. I mean, that thing's pretty tough. Like the lines of play are pretty hardcore, and it's definitely not a deck that's like obvious, right? Like the interaction with Amulet Vigor and all of like the bounce lands from Ravnica and their interaction with things like Tolaria West and just all sorts of stuff, and like Slayer's Stronghold or something like that. That's the one that pumps, right? Um, yeah, it's just crazy. This card just does it all. It's found a place in a ton of different decks. Mostly a lot of ramp decks, big mana decks, but it's such a valuable ability. This card is pushed as heck. Double tutors, double ramp. I mean, that's amazing, and it does it every time it attacks. And just 6/6 with trample by itself for 6 mana it's a threat. It's an obvious threat, right? But now they have to deal with all this other crap you're spewing up. So totally crazy. And this card's pretty pushed, pretty silly. I mean, who would have known to make your 6 mana 6/6 good is to be able to double rampant growth out whatever land you want as many times as you want every time you attack. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So yeah, I guess there's probably not much else to say about Primeval Titan. I think this was probably always like him and then Worm Coil Engine, because they've seen so much play, like in like different formats, but also in like Commander and stuff too. it's like, it seemed like a no-brainer. Those were pretty much always the two of them. Like, okay, yeah, these are probably the best. Uh, but yeah, I love these guys. Pretty sweet cards, pretty strong. Yeah, good stuff, man. So that's it for today. So thanks for stopping by and have a great day.